military action against Iran. Here's our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, from the region tonight.
Tonight, an ultimatum to Iran. President Trump warning it has a maximum of 15 days to make a nuclear deal, or really bad things will happen.
We're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
A U.S. official says the president held a meeting in the Situation Room with top advisors 24 hours ago discussing Iran. A source familiar with the planning telling ABC News the president's considering
a new deadline, 15 days. That is the window being laid down as pressure intensifies between Washington and Tehran. The message is blunt: reach a nuclear agreement or face consequences. This is not diplomatic language wrapped in ambiguity. It is a compressed timeline delivered publicly, with the weight of military positioning already underway. Behind the scenes, senior advisors have reportedly reviewed a spectrum of options, from limited strikes intended to shift negotiating leverage, to broader operations targeting infrastructure and strategic assets. The strategy appears to combine negotiation with visible deterrence, but compressed deadlines in geopolitics can escalate as quickly as they resolve. When rhetoric hardens, markets respond, allies reassess, and adversaries calculate. The immediate question is whether this ultimatum accelerates diplomacy or
a
narrows
range of
it.
options, from a limited strike that had enhanced the U.S. negotiating position to larger-scale strikes on government, military and nuclear targets. Trump ordering a massive buildup of U.S. firepower in the Middle East, the U.S. demanding no nuclear program, a curb on ballistic missiles and an end to support for proxy militant groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. David, despite ongoing talks and massive military pressure, Iran's supreme leader defiant, warning the strongest army in the world may sometimes get slapped so hard it can't stand up.
Military assets positioned in the region are not symbolic gestures. They are signals. And signals are interpreted through history, intelligence, and domestic politics on both sides. U.S. demands reportedly extend beyond nuclear enrichment, including ballistic missile limits and curbs on regional proxy activity. Tehran, meanwhile, has projected defiance, framing outside pressure as provocation rather than incentive. This is the familiar architecture of brinkmanship: leverage, posture, deadline. The danger lies not only in deliberate action, but in miscalculation. A limited strike intended as leverage can widen. A retaliatory response can trigger alliance obligations. Diplomatic channels may still be active, but the margin for error narrows as the clock counts down. What unfolds over the next 2 weeks could recalibrate regional stability or intensify an already fragile balance.
Back in the U.S. tonight in Philadelphia, the slavery display at the president's house where George Washington lived has now been restored. Philadelphia Mayor Sherrell Parker viewing the display today and personally thanking National Park Service workers for reinstalling the exhibit. A judge ordered the display restored. Tonight, the Trump administration saying it will appeal, insisting the changes were done to align with, quote, shared national values. Tonight, outside the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., a massive banner with President Trump's photo.
In Philadelphia, a different kind of legal confrontation is playing out, one centered on history, interpretation, and federal authority. A slavery exhibit at the president's house site has been restored following a judge's order, reversing earlier changes. The display marks the presence of enslaved people at a location closely associated with the nation's founding era. The restoration underscores the role of the courts in adjudicating disputes over public historical interpretation. When exhibits are altered or removed, the questions extend beyond curation. They touch on transparency, public memory, and the boundaries of executive discretion. Municipal leaders have publicly supported the reinstatement, framing it as a matter of historical completeness. The federal government, however, has signaled it will appeal, arguing that its revisions reflected shared national values.
Is now on display on the DOJ building. The DOJ saying it is celebrating its, quote, historic work to make America safe again at President Trump's direction. The banner is drawing scrutiny because the Justice Department has long worked to demonstrate independence from the executive branch. Tonight, President Trump's handpicked committee approving his massive White House ballroom project. The U.S. Commission of Fine Arts giving the green light now to the ballroom, 90,000 square feet, larger than the White House itself. The East Wing has already been torn down to make way.
Legal appeals in cases like this often hinge on administrative authority, who has the right to determine content within federally managed spaces. But the broader debate resonates far beyond one exhibit. It reflects a national conversation about how history is presented, contextualized, and preserved. Museums and memorial sites are not neutral ground. They are curated narratives that influence public understanding. When courts intervene, they are not rewriting history, they are interpreting statutory obligations. The outcome of the appeal could clarify how much latitude federal agencies possess when revising educational displays. For now, the exhibit stands restored, visitors once again encountering a fuller account of the site's past. And in Washington, another display is drawing attention, not about the past, but about the present.
When we come back here tonight, there is news this evening. The skiers buried alive on the slopes, and now we learn many of the victims were moms. They're on a parents' trip, and what we've learned tonight. Also, a JetBlue flight making an emergency landing, passengers racing to get off the plane on the slides.
Outside the Department of Justice in Washington, a large banner featuring the president's image now hangs prominently on the building. Officials describe it as recognition of policy direction and achievements. But the visual has prompted debate because the Justice Department has long emphasized its institutional independence from the executive branch. Symbolism matters in governance. Federal agencies operate not only through statutes and procedures, but through perception of impartiality. When imagery shifts, observers evaluate what it represents. Is it celebration? Alignment? Messaging? Legal scholars note that the department's credibility relies on maintaining public confidence that prosecutions and investigations are insulated from political influence. The banner itself does not alter legal authority, but it has intensified scrutiny about optics and precedent.
Tonight here, the remarkable discovery of a new species of dinosaur, where it was found and how large it was. And of course, late today, I'm sure you heard, winning the gold, the U.S. women's hockey team beating Canada. So we'll go right to Italy here in a moment. Stay tuned.
At the same time, approval has been granted for a major architectural project at the White House, a large ballroom addition backed by a federal arts commission. Supporters frame it as modernization and expanded hosting capacity. Critics question scale, cost, and symbolism. Construction decisions at historic sites often generate debate because they blend function with legacy. Altering physical space inevitably influences how future administrations operate within it. The convergence of imagery at the Justice Department and structural change at the White House highlights a broader theme: how institutions present themselves during moments of political transition. Optics, architecture, and messaging can carry weight alongside policy.
Engine failure that forced that JetBlue flight from Newark Airport to turn around and make an emergency landing. Passengers evacuating the plane using a slide. Newark Airport actually closing for about an hour last night. Officials say no one was hurt. When we come back here tonight, the remarkable discovery, that new species of dinosaur, and you'll see it. Also tonight, the Pulp Fiction actor and his cause of death. And the U.S. women's hockey team beating Canada. We'll go right to Italy in a moment.
In Northern California, investigators continue examining the circumstances behind a devastating avalanche that claimed 9 lives. Among the victims were mothers participating in a backcountry trip connected to a ski academy community. Avalanche dynamics can shift rapidly, even under experienced guidance. Snowpack stability, wind loading, and terrain angles combine in unpredictable ways. Rescue teams faced a scene described as expansive and sudden, the kind of event that transforms routine recreation into emergency response within seconds. The tragedy has prompted renewed attention to backcountry safety protocols and risk assessment in variable winter conditions. For families, the focus is remembrance. For officials, it is understanding exactly how the slide developed and whether additional safeguards are warranted. Elsewhere, a commercial flight was forced to make an emergency landing after reported engine trouble, prompting passengers to evacuate via slides. Aviation safety systems are built around redundancy, layered checks designed to manage precisely these scenarios. No injuries were reported, a testament to training and response coordination. In scientific news, researchers have announced the discovery of a previously unknown dinosaur species in the Sahara Desert, offering new insight into prehistoric ecosystems and evolutionary adaptation. And in international sports, the U.S. women's hockey team secured a dramatic gold medal victory, followed by another gold in figure skating, milestones that resonate far beyond the arena. Even amid geopolitical tension and domestic debate, moments of scientific discovery and athletic achievement remind U.S. of resilience, curiosity, and collective pride. From diplomatic ultimatums to courtroom battles over history, from symbolism in Washington to tragedy in the mountains, tonight's developments span power, memory, risk, and achievement. Each story reflects a system in motion: international negotiations, judicial oversight, institutional identity, emergency response, and global competition. The pace is constant, the stakes varied, but the common thread is impact. So, what do you see as the defining issue right now? Global security, domestic governance, or the human stories unfolding alongside them? Share your perspective in the comments. If you value clear, measured analysis without noise or exaggeration, like this video and subscribe. And stay with us as we continue tracking every development that shapes the days ahead.